Can you stop that?
Does that annoy you?
Yeah.
Mine doesn't do that. See?
It's got a switch on the side.
Oh. Okay.
Anyway.
I don't like that. That's so stupid. Like, why would you put a switch on the side? Like,
there's not enough of this.
Doesn't make any sense. What you drinking? Oh, is that what I got you the other day?
Good bourbon, yeah.
Bullet bourbon.
Yeah.
Locally from Philadelphia.
Yes. So we've kind of had a hiatus here because of the snow, and I was sick, and
then we
were
went
away on vacation.
We went to the coolest place ever. It's called Kalahari Resorts. It is awesome.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I actually did a write-up on my blog, rickpepito.com. And I talked about a VR experience I had there, which was a lot of fun.
The restaurants, I mean, everything. I mean, I didn't want to leave. Like, the kids are like, we want to go back. It's such a good time.
Yeah.
Such a good time.
But it brings up a good point that we haven't been able to do this in a little bit because time is just so... I mean, it goes so fast. Especially the older you get, it goes faster. And it's like, sometimes you want to freeze time. Sometimes you kind of want to go back a little bit. So
it travels.
It travels. We should do this episode about time travel.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't want to get super nerd on everybody. So we'll just... What? I don't care. Whatever. Go ahead.
I'm in his notes.
So Einstein... This is the technical. This is the only I promise. This is the only technical thing on here. But Einstein had a theory that time slowed down, or sped up, depending on how fast or slow a person was going.
Mm-hmm.
So there's many different theories on that, and we could get into the million possibilities, but that's not any fun.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we get into some of the fun things about time travel?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe some fun time travel stories that are out there,
mm-hmm.
and maybe some evidence, and just like
movies,
books, whatever.
Yeah.
And then maybe what would you, things that you would want to do with time travel.
So what would it be? Do you think it would be like a capsule? Like how do you think, would it be like the movie Time Travel? Is there a movie Time Travel? What's the name of the movie?
Did you just ask me about a movie that you don't even know if it exists?
What was the name of that movie? The one that the guy gets in the machine. Oh,
The
Time Machine.
by
yeah,
H.G.
That's
Wells.
what I mean, yes.
One of the best time
That's what I meant. That's what I meant.
That is one of the best time travel stories of all time.
Right. So do you think it would be something like that where you just walk in and like you just pedal, or like now maybe you just press a button?
Well, it could be any numerous amount of things. I mean, as far as you actually wanting to do it, you would have to have some kind of machine, obviously, to do something like that. But, I mean, go beyond that. Go beyond the how you do it,
mm-hmm.
and go to, like, things that point to different parts in time. Like, there's this website, strangerdimensions.com,
mm-hmm.
that I got a list of all these different photographs that are proof
What's
of
the website
time travel.
again?
Strangerdimensions.com.
Okay.
And they show, and I've seen this on other places too, but these just they had a complete list of proof of time travel.
Mm-hmm.
And there were things like, there's a picture of Marilyn Monroe that I've seen, and there's a woman in the background holding up this thing that looks exactly like an iPhone, and she's holding it up like she'd be taking a picture. And obviously in that time it didn't exist, but there's also other things like in Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah, but you don't think
The
that's like
Circus.
photoshopped?
No, these are actual real photographs.
I don't know, though. They've done so much research on those things that may seem like photoshopped.
Yeah, but a lot of these things they're irrefutable real photographs or video.
Mm-hmm.
One of the videos, I don't know if it was Muhammad Ali, one of his old fights, there's a guy in the audience that's holding up something that looks like a modern camera.
I gotta tell you, though, I know this is weird,
Mm-hmm.
but what if we're already living in the future in another planet?
And I'm the nerd.
I'm just It's not a nerd thing. It's not a nerd thing. It just makes you think, though. What if?
Well, we could
What if
be...
we are already living there? And what if our past lives are living on another planet?
Well, that's part of the fun of the speculation of
No, right?
such
Because
a
there's
topic.
so much. Like,
You've got the past and you've got the future.
Mhm.
And in my new book, here we go, I'm going to plug, right? In my new book, I explain how there's not just the past and the future.
Mhm.
There's other timelines, which they've gone through. Back to the Future touched on that, and a couple different things touched on, change an event in the past and a different outcome comes. But there's not just moving back and forward in time, there's moving sideways. And it's just kind of like it's a fun speculation to talk about.
yeah.
There's plenty of scientists that say it's absolutely impossible, and then there's plenty of scientists who say it is possible. You just have to have the technology to do it.
Mhm.
But what would you do if you had the technology to time travel?
Well, I have 3 times that I would probably want to go back to because I'm very curious.
Mm-hmm.
Like, very, very curious. I think I would want to see if actually dinosaurs did exist, which I know, we have proof, we have that, but
What they looked like?
were they really this huge or small or whatever the case may be? Like, I would want to see that. Also, the era of, like, Jesus Christ. Like, that just
Absolutely.
fascinates me. Like, the Egyptian times, too. Like, were those pyramids really built by man? Like, I have so many questions that I would want answered. I don't know. I think
would you ever want to go to the future?
I think the future really doesn't. I mean, I'm not really intrigued by it.
Well,
Isn't that like some people are like, oh, I want to go to the future because
a lot of time travel books, including my own, explain that you can't actually go to the future because it's unwritten yet. So, like, if you're at this point in time and you want to go to the future, which is over here, you can't possibly get here because there could be this way,
right.
at this point in time.
I am not interested in going to the future. Isn't that weird?
No, it's not, because here's my thing with time travel. You said you would actually want to physically go to these places in the past.
If I could go to the past,
Okay.
yes. Just because I want answers. I want answers
would
to
never,
things.
and I love history. I'm just as much a history buff as you are. I would never actually want to physically go to any of these places. I don't want to alter time at all. I have no regrets on anything.
To me, it's like there's questions that I want to know.
Right, so...
It's not by asking anyone, it's just by seeing. Like, I'm a very,
Okay, so then let me twist your thinking a little bit.
Because it's not twisted.
Well, you're with me, so you're obviously twisted a little bit. But, so... You want to learn more about the past and things and how they go, and that's exactly what I would want to do.
Right.
My proposal is I would not ever want to actually physically go there. I would not want to interact with anything.
You don't have to interact.
I would want to open kind of like a window at any point in place in time and be able to observe.
That is what I'm saying. But my thing is, if I saw that's what I'm saying. I'm very visual. Were the pyramids built by man? Like, I don't need to interact. I can see. Like, that's what I'm saying.
Well, let's go back to your. You made a comment about the time machine, the movie.
Yeah.
Did you see the '60s version, or you just saw the remake?
No, I saw years.
Right. Okay. So in the '60s version,
but the remake I thought was great.
It was really good.
I loved it.
It was actually closer to the novel than the '60s version. But the '60s version did a really good job of showing progression of time at a sped up thing. So, like, he was in one place. If you've never seen the time machine, either one, I highly recommend it. But he was in one place in this time machine, and inside that bubble wasn't changing, but anything outside of it was. So you could see everything in that place in time.
Yeah.
I think it would be really cool to just be sitting right here and to be able to see different points in time. Do you have any, other than the time machine, do you have any good, like, time travel stories that you really liked, just growing up, or just that you remember, or?
I've never time traveled.
I have. Actually, I take that back. You have, too. Time travel is possible.
Is it deja vu?
No, well, no, that's a whole other thing. We'll get into that.
But don't they say that? It's
no,
like deja vu?
time travel. You've time traveled. I know you have. I've been there for it. Time travel. You have a little too many of these, and you wake up the next morning and you're like, how did I get here? It's hours later after I've had it.
Right. They do mention the, like, series of how, like, time slows down. Like, if you look at the clock and you see the smaller hand, it actually, like, you know, certain things.
Have you ever wondered about that?
Like, I think it's just the concept of our brain.
No, but have you ever wondered about that sometimes when you're sitting there and you're doing work all day and you're having a really productive day, and then you look back and you're like, you know, usually when you have a really productive day, time flies by fast.
Mm-hmm.
But there's been days where I've had
so busy.
So many really good productive day, and I've looked at the clock and gone, how did I accomplish that much in that amount of time?
Well, they do say that, like, say you're listening to, like, your favorite music or whatever, they actually have done studies where time seems to stand still when you're bored or if you're not really into the work.
Right. But I'm talking about the times when
But if you're enjoying yourself, like with your friends and stuff like that,
goes faster.
All of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, how did it get from like 10 o'clock to like 3 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like when we're at events and stuff.
Yeah, and you get there and the first hour and a half feels kind of like slow, and then all of a sudden you start having a really good time and talking to people, and then all of a sudden it's over, and you're like, how did that happen?
One event that I do have to mention.
You already mentioned it a couple times.
American Red Cross, Red Ball. I didn't mention that?
Yes, you did.
When?
We'll go back 2 episodes and play it for you.
No, but that's one event.
Up. That's next weekend.
Yes, but that's one event that we will get there. And all of a sudden, how did that happen? It's like a wedding. It's like a wedding as well.
It is. Wedding's a prime example. Yep. Wedding is a prime example. Mm-hmm. Our wedding, it was 6 hours long. I mean, we had
a reception. Our ceremony, reception, everything at one place.
The reception was right after ceremony, so we had like a 5.5 hour, reception. Mm-hmm. And I mean, other than bits and pieces, I wasn't really drinking a whole lot. I wasn't eating a whole lot. I remember dancing. It's
just like talking to so many people.
And then it was over.
Yeah.
And it's like,
for sure.
What?
But they say it's just and they also said that, okay, so say you're at like a fast food place and you're going to order food, but you don't know what you want yet. They say that you will automatically go to the longer line because you need time to decide what you want. So it's like...
I do that. I do that all the time.
You won't go to the short line because you don't know what you want yet. So...
Here, guilty. Mm-hmm. Ready? Mm-hmm. We'll sit down at dinner. Mm-hmm. Anybody I'm ever with at dinner, it doesn't matter who it is. I will sit down, I open the menu, I might know what I want. I will automatically wait till I tell everybody else at the table to order the food first. Mm-hmm. Because...
You want to make sure
I want to make sure that's actually what I want.
Right.
I want to have more time to sit there and decide whether, okay, that might be what I want.
But isn't that funny? Everything with time is just, it's really weird.
Yeah, and the older you get, it does definitely feel like it speeds up.
You look at your kids, and it's like, what the heck just happened?
There's a really cool, I think you may have watched it one time, movie called The Philadelphia Experiment. And it's based on...
I've never watched that, but I've heard of it.
I actually have it on DVD. I'll have to... Maybe I'll let you borrow it sometime.
Oh, thanks.
Philadelphia Experiment was actually based on a real mission in 1943. Mm-hmm. And the USS Eldridge was... I don't remember. I think it was an aircraft carrier. Mm. They tried to... It was
a boat. Was it?
It was a ship, yeah.
Yeah. Aircraft, okay.
Yeah. Time traveling.
Sorry.
It was
I just heard air. That's all.
Now, there's conflicting reports to what the actual Philadelphia experiment did. Supposedly, it had to do with cloaking technology, and the theory is that the ship disappeared for a matter of a few minutes to a few hours. And there's many different reports on, what actually happened. One of the theories is that it did not disappear because it was cloaked. Mm-hmm. It disappeared because they actually opened a rift in time and sent the thing a few minutes into the future. But bystanders claim that the ship was not there for a few minutes and then it was there. And there's reports that people on board said that they just didn't know anything happened, but they came out and their watches were all different times. And then there's reports denying all of that. I mean, there's a million different. There's been so much fiction surrounding it.
Right. So does that mean like with the Bermuda Triangle?
Well, that's a whole other thing.
I know, but where do those all go? Do they go into another dimension?
Actually, here's a really cool tie-in. Here's a really cool tie-in. Okay. There was a series of books I used to read called Atlantis.
I remember you reading
Okay,
those.
and that's by one of my favorite authors, Bob Mayer. And
that was him?
yes.
I didn't know that.
He was writing under a different pen name at that point. But the characters in his Atlantis series are now currently in his Time Patrol series. And the Time Patrol series, if you're into time travel or even the thought of it, his Time Patrol series is really, really good. And it ties in a lot of historical events in each book. And what's cool is at the end of the last book, 9/11, that I read, and 9/11 takes place on multiple different September 11th throughout history.
Wow.
And different events that happen. And at the end of the book, after the book is over, it has a little historical thing saying what actually happened on 9/11 of this date and what actually happened on 9/11 of this date. And he puts in the real historical facts.
I mean, the Atlantis books that you were reading, every time you would explain or what was going on, was really cool.
Well, they're now tied into, because he kind of took some of the characters from that and tied them into this. And, you know, when you said Bermuda Triangle, it reminded me of that because there was a whole thing with Amelia Earhart that was tied into that and everything. So that was
cool.
One of my favorite time travel shows was Quantum Leap. And his Bob Mayer series actually reminds me of that, where this guy, Sam Beckett from the future, would loop, well, it's our past now. I think it was like 2001 when it was made, you know, but, or it was the 90s or 80s when it was made, but I think he was in 2001 or something. And he would travel back to different points in the past in his life and leap into other people's bodies and actually have to be them for a day. And I always enjoyed that. But there is one time travel story that is, I mean, classic. It should never, ever be remade. I even wrote kind of like a proposal for a fourth part in the story at one point. And, you know, nobody wanted to bite on it.
Who? What?
Back to the Future.
Oh, yeah, Back to the Future should not be remade. That's actually one of the things that people were talking about is should movies be remade?
No, I'm so against movies being remade.
They actually had a conversation about this on Fox 29 the other day about should movies be remade?
Sequels,
yeah, but remade, like, I don't mind it. If it was a bad movie,
remake it into a good
remake it maybe, but I'm totally with leave it as a classic.
Absolutely.
And Back to the Future should definitely never ever be touched.
No.
That is just, I mean, I've heard so many people going, no, that is a movie that should just stay. Right?
No, and if anything,
you can't do anything with that.
Actually, I think it was really cool because a couple of years ago, it might have been last year, they had like the 30th anniversary or whatever it was. But Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd came up on, it might have been Jimmy Kimmel or something like that, and they showed up in the DeLorean and they got out to celebrate. And I thought that was really cool because if anything were ever to be done with a series like that, I would not want to see it redone. The original is perfect.
I mean, I get the concept where a lot of people are like, well, you're bringing it into a new audience, and, you know, like a lot of people won't watch black and white movies. You know, so they want those movies remade so a newer audience could watch it. Like, Back to the Future is, I mean, it's a classic to us, and then our kids will look at it and be like, wow, that's really old.
Well, because
our kids love it.
Our kids love it.
Yeah.
Because
but I'm saying, like, as they get older, they look at it as, wow, this is really old.
Well, the funny thing is, in Back to the Future 2, remember when they went to the future?
Yeah.
Well, the future was like 2015.
Right.
Okay?
It's so funny.
Well, when Christopher Lloyd, and that's when they did it, when they showed up on stage at Jimmy Kimmel or wherever it was, they came out and Christopher Lloyd goes, well, this isn't the 2015 that we remember. Where are all the flying cars and everything?
Yeah.
You know, so, and
it's
I think
cool.
Marty explained that well, this must be a different timeline.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like something in the past changed and the future, you know. So it was really cool that they did that because they tied it in. But you could still, I mean, regardless of, yeah, okay, it's a little bit outdated, you can still fix that in another movie.
Right.
Have it, you know.
Right.
I'm all for that.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you have anything else that you want to add to that?
No. Oh, I do actually. One
do
thing.
you?
So they did say that in 140 million years from now, we will not be it won't be 24 hours anymore in a day. It'll be 25 hours.
Do you know it's not actually 24 hours in a day?
What?
It's like 23 hours, 59 minutes, and like some ridiculous amount of seconds.
Well, anyway, it's going to be 25 hours, you're saying.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
In 140 million years.
Well, and
I love how my teeth are purple.
That brings up another really interesting, real quick point is that, you know, and this is not getting into any technical stuff, but time as we know it is different than time for somebody, say, on Mars. If we went to Mars and we were doing this from Mars,
Mm-hmm.
yes, it would still be 23 minutes into the video.
Right.
But our concept of a day is off by a couple more minutes because we're that much further away from the sun. So time is, like, Einstein does a really good job of explaining time in a linear fashion.
When he was alive.
He's still alive. He went to the future, pretty sure of it. But speaking of future, you should go pick up this book. Shameless plug time. My new book, A Course for Humanity, is out. And it involves time travel. And I started writing that, speaking of time travel, in 2000. So it was shelved for a while. And
Is that that's not the one I finished?
it is. It is. It's the first one when we first, before I published my first book, it's the first manuscript I gave you.
Yes.
It's been highly altered since then and updated. But yeah, the core idea behind that is what's in there. So yeah. So do you have any favorite time travel stories? Do you have evidence of time travel or theories on time travel? What would you do if you could travel through time? And where would you go? You should like, think, share. Visit our Facebook page at Thinksipwrite. Follow Roberta and myself. And we will see you next
Time.
Got it.
Cheers.
Cheers.